Fuck Mitt Romney. Having said that, I want to make it clear that I'm not one of those people that thinks that if Mitt Romney does happen to be elected president of the United States next week, that that would be the worst thing that could ever happen. I mean, it won't be good. It wouldn't be great. I hope it doesn't happen. But if perchance it does happen, it won't be the worst thing that ever happened. In fact, I went ahead and drew up a graph. I put all of the things that could ever possibly happen on a spectrum from worst possible to best possible. Here, take a look at it. As you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, you have the events that would be the worst thing that could ever happen. And then on the right side, there's more toward the green side, the best things that could ever happen. And Romney definitely is on the worst side of the line, but certainly not the worst thing that could ever happen. In fact, if you zoom in a little closer, you can get a little bit more of a context. You see that the Romney presidency would be obviously worse than David Arquette winning the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, but not as bad as the Armenian genocide. So it kind of puts it in perspective for you. It would be bad, but it would not be the worst thing ever. I don't want to be one of these Chicken Little, sky is falling liberals that, you know, views the prospect of the Romney presidency as the worst thing that could ever possibly happen. People like that with that attitude are just as bad as the conservatives who have been losing their shit over nothing these last 4 years that Obama has been president. That sort of thing is just mindless no matter which side is doing it. Now, having said that, let me reiterate how much I don't want Mitt Romney to be the president and why I don't want Mitt Romney to be the president. There are a few really good, big reasons to not want Mitt Romney to be the president of the United States. Romney will appear to be advocating something that he is in fact dead set against. And the women's rights issues are a good example of this. When he'll come out and he'll say, oh, I'm all for women's rights. I think women in the workplace should have just the same opportunities as men. And, you know, there was the binders full of women remark from the second debate that got a lot of attention and should have, because it's a really clumsy, stupid thing to say, and it's indicative of the man's attitude toward women. I mean, the fact that he even had to send feelers out into the women's rights community to come up with names for people he could potentially hire, to basically find that he's without coming right out and saying it, he's saying, look, we've sent feelers out to find token women to hire for my administration. We went right to the women themselves and said, who should I hire so I can have some women working for me? And then it turns out that's not even what really happened, that women's organizations actually came to him and delivered the so-called binders of names that he could hire. He didn't even go out and seek them out. That's indicative of his sort of condescending, pat-on-the-head attitude toward women. And then there's also this ad he's been running lately. I saw it just earlier this week, specifically targeted at women, talking about how, oh, these are liberals, Obama, such an alarmist, such a demagogue, totally mischaracterizing Romney's positions on women's issues. He's not against abortion. He thinks abortion should be an option in cases of rape and incest. You know, oh, thanks, Mitt. They're very open-minded of you. In rape and incest, I guess you can have an abortion in that case. I've decided that that is admissible. The other instances where a woman might want to decide for herself whether or not an abortion, which is a completely legal procedure, is an option she wants to pursue. Well, I'm not too comfortable with that, but rape and incest, okay, that seems safe. Yeah, you can have an abortion in that case. And he doesn't oppose contraception. He doesn't oppose women having access to birth control. Well, no one ever said that he did. I mean, that's not the issue. The argument isn't should women be allowed to have access to contraception, period. The argument is over whether or not employers who provide health insurance should be required to provide a health insurance plan for their employees that covers contraception. That's the argument, and I don't even understand why that's an argument in the 21st century. It boggles my mind. Mitt Romney opposes gay rights. This is from his campaign website. I got this literally like 3 seconds ago. I printed this off. Quote, as president, Mitt will not only appoint an attorney general who will defend the Defense of Marriage Act, a bipartisan law passed by Congress and signed by President Clinton and struck down by 2 federal courts so far, by the way, but he will also champion a federal marriage amendment to the Constitution defining marriage as between one man and one woman. That is Mitt Romney's stance on gay rights, on marriage equality, on LGBT rights. Perhaps the defining trait of this man, other than his changeability, is his stunning capacity for hypocrisy. Naked, unapologetic, obvious hypocrisy. Look on his campaign website. Look elsewhere in the list of issues and his positions on issues. You will see over and over again, he believes in the rights of the states. He believes the states should be able to decide how they spend money on Medicare. He believes the states should have more control over how they spend education funding. He believes the states should be able to set their own abortion laws, because even though he supposedly supports a woman's right to choose in cases of rape and incest, he also supports overturning Roe versus Wade at the Supreme Court and allowing states to pass their own abortion laws, which could potentially remove legal abortion as an option for women, even in cases of rape and incest. So he's all for the states. He wants the states to have all this power, and states to be able to control the lives of their citizens. He believes in the great laboratories of democracy, the states, right? The states should set their own healthcare policies. The states, the states, the states. And yet, again, I'll read it. He will champion a federal marriage amendment to the Constitution, defining marriage as between one man and one woman. In other words, he doesn't respect states' rights when it comes to deciding whether or not to respect the rights of their gay citizens. The states that have decided for themselves, that have decided to quit waiting for the federal government, the Supreme Court, what have you, to quit fucking around and jerking off on the issue of gay rights and gay marriage, and have decided, either through their legislation or through their own courts or through whatever method, public referendum, to legalize gay marriage, that those states, if a federal marriage amendment is passed, the men and women, the gay couples who were legally married in those states will have their marriages nullified. They will no longer be married by federal amendment. That's what that means. That's what Mitt Romney supports. The man who is the great conservative champion of states' rights. Except for you gay folks. You gay folks who got married in Massachusetts, in New York, in California, etc. He doesn't think that you should have the right to your marriages, even your legally obtained state-sanctioned marriages. He doesn't think you should have the right to those. He supports a federal marriage amendment, an amendment to the Constitution of the United States that will take away your legal status as married couples. That's what Mitt Romney believes. If there were no other reason for voting against this cocksucker, that is enough of a reason for me not to vote for him. To never, ever even consider voting for him. Not just because of the bigotry, not just because of the anti-gay prejudice, but because of the hypocrisy. States' rights are great, except for you gay folks. Sorry. Yeah, your state can have the right to determine whether or not you have an abortion. Your state can have the right to determine how much funding your school gets, how much funding you get through Medicare and Medicaid. Yeah, your state can have those rights. Your state can have that much power. But your state doesn't have the right to grant you, as a gay person, as a member of a same-sex couple, the right to get a legal marriage. Sorry, have to draw the line there. Fuck you. If there was only one reason not to vote for him, it would be that. It would be that. And it would be enough. But of course, that's not the only reason not to vote for Mitt Romney. There's everything I've talked about up to this point. The hypocrisy, the failures on women's rights, the opposition to gay rights, there's the condescending patriarchal attitude, there's the sneering condescension shown toward the poor, toward the less fortunate in this country. There's his insane suggestion, made even more insane by recent events in light of the tragedy caused by Superstorm Sandy, of wanting to privatize FEMA, wanting to cut disaster relief from the federal budget. Just these ridiculous propositions that he has made, and the whole attitude that Romney embodies from the Republican Party, the business, the pro-business side of the Republican Party, who not only want to force government to serve their interests first, not the interests of everyone, not the common interests of the citizens, not the common public good, but the interests of business. Not only that, but to remake government in the image of their business, to remake government as a profit-seeking entity. And Mitt Romney has declared this himself in so many words. He comes from the land of business. He wants to run the government like a business. And look, it's one thing to talk about cutting the deficit. It's one thing to talk about trying to bring down the national debt. I'm all for that. I don't think it's as big of a deal as politicians from both major parties are making it, but nevertheless I do think it's important, and I don't have a problem with wanting to responsibly bring the deficit down, wanting to try to pay down the national debt. I think those are good things. Those are responsible things to talk about and to try to act on. But when Romney says, I want to run the government like a business, what he's telling you is, I have no fucking clue what the government is even for. That's what he's saying, because no one who understands the purpose of a government, of any government, especially of a democratic constitutional republic, would ever say, I think I want to run this government like a business. A government is not a business. A government does not sell a product. A government is not there to make a profit or to save money. A government is there to spend money. A government is there to provide services. A government is there to do what private businesses can't or won't do, because there is no profit motive in a particular action. That's what government is for. And it doesn't mean that there's no such thing as inefficient government. It doesn't mean that government can never be too big or that government can never spend too much money. Of course, there are wastes, there's excess, there's government overreach, both in terms of how much money it spends and in terms of the authority that it claims for itself and the extent that it reaches into people's lives and tries to control them. Obviously, those are real issues, and those are things that need to be watched and need to be pulled back in some ways. But that doesn't mean that the purpose of government is to make money. The purpose of government is not to make money. The purpose of government is to spend money, is to provide services for its citizens, is to provide structures, to provide laws, to enforce those laws, to make sure that the free marketplace that Mitt Romney has such a fucking hard-on for is a fair marketplace, is a place where people aren't being taken advantage of. That's what government is for. That's what government can do, and that's what it must do if it's to be any use to the people of this country at all. And to say, well, I'm going to run it like a business. I'm going to run the government like I ran my businesses at Bain Capital. Someone should probably tell Mitt, in the event that he does get elected, that if his mission to reform the government fails, then he's not going to be able to do the same thing to it that he did to failed businesses that he bought or invested in as a part of Bain Capital. He's not going to be able to just extract his fee and then sell off the pieces of the bankrupted, ruined government. Have I given you enough reasons not to vote for Mitt Romney? I think I have. Whether you are a liberal like myself, whether you are a conservative, I cannot think of a single reason other than you just want the guy you vote for to have a chance at winning. I can't think of a single reason why anyone would want to vote for this guy. I'm not voting for him because I find his proposals repugnant, and I find him as a human being to be repugnant and offensive. And as I said in my 5 Stupid Things video I posted about him recently, he's a windsock of a man. He's a weather vane. There's no essential trait that defines him other than his hypocrisy and his shameless willingness to change, to become whatever he thinks he needs to be in order to get elected, in order to get what he wants. If you're a conservative, vote for Gary Johnson. Vote for crazy-ass Virgil Goode. I mean, if you're a liberal, vote for Barack Obama. Or vote for Jill Stein in the Green Party. There is not a single reason to vote for Mitt Romney. He has nothing to offer. Nothing to offer other than vote for me because I might win. And that to me is not a reason to vote for anybody. Vote for me because I might win. That's a shit reason, and he's a shit candidate. Fuck him, the hell with him.